Right, here we go. So, let's just introduce myself first. My name's Jordan. I'm an NBA fan, much like you. I'm not a professional analyst or a journalist. I just love watching NBA, love talking about it. So here I am, welcome to my channel. Just the first point, my microphone is broken, so not all my videos are going to be recorded on this gaming headset. I have a professional microphone, but my cable has snapped. I was planning on waiting to do this video, but I'm just so excited. I just want to finally get this rolling. So, in my first video, I'm going to talk to you guys about Ben Simmons. As you can probably tell, yes, I'm Australian. No, this video does not have any bias. I am a Ben Simmons fan, but I wouldn't say that I'm a super fan and that I'm backing him up just because he's Australian. And on a second point, I don't even think he's the best Australian NBA player. If you look up, Kyrie Irving was born in Melbourne, Australia, where I am from. So, yeah, Kyrie's my number one Australian NBA player. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. His dad was playing in the Australian Basketball League when he was born. He probably doesn't agree with me, but he was born in Australia, so I'd like to see him in an Australian jersey next Olympics. Will it happen? Definitely not, but it's what I want. Alright, so Ben, it's all anyone can talk about over the past 3-4 months is Ben Simmons. Is he going to be at the 76ers next season? Where's he going to go if he gets traded? What's going to happen with him not playing? Is he going to get fined? So I'm going to talk about it. Now, this is just a discussion. Like I said, I'm just a fan. So I'm just talking about it as a fan and as a watcher, not as a person who's involved in it at all. So I think the first thing with Ben is that his pride is hurt and that he feels like the people that are meant to be in his corner, his teammates, have not backed him up. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I was thinking about this analysis, or this example. Think about when you get a new job. Say, it's just a minimum wage job, it's nothing special, right? So you don't have too much ties to it. And yes, I know Ben Simmons is on a hell of a lot of money, and it's not minimum wage, but that's not my point. So, you get a job, and at the start, you feel dedicated to the team, you're happy that you just got this job, you're finally making some money, and you feel good about it. Your boss is nice and everything, and you feel like you want to put in more effort for your colleagues because everyone's nice, you're in a good environment, and you're happy. Now, think about if you didn't want to be there anymore, or for example, like what happened last year with Ben Simmons and the James Harden trade, you find out that your boss doesn't want you there or that you're expendable. Now, I don't know about you, but when I've been in that circumstance, I've done a lot less work. So there's been a lot of back and forth from the 76ers over this past off-season. Starting off with the press conference after they lost a series where Doc Rivers answered a question about whether he thought Ben Simmons was a championship point guard for that team, and he said he didn't know how to answer that question right now. Now, Doc Rivers, just a couple of days ago at the media day, said that that's not what he said. That's not what his context was, and it was being taken out of context. He said that that answer was in response to all of the talks about Ben Simmons right now, that he didn't want to talk about that right now. If you go back and watch that video, you can see the video of him answering the question at the press conference back at the end of the season. You can see how the question was delivered and how he responded, that is clearly not the case, that Doc Rivers right now is clearly backtracking and he's trying to change the narrative in his favour right now. Obviously, because there is a lot of backlash from other people against what he said. A lot of commentators and a lot of analysts have been saying that was out of line. I take this stance as well. I think that was definitely out of line. So what I think Doc Rivers really should have said in that circumstance was, yes, Ben Simmons didn't play the best defensively. He didn't take a lot of shots. He didn't really perform on that end of the court. But we really need to look at what he does defensively. And he pretty much locked down the Hawks star player in Trae Young for that entire series. And that gets overlooked by a lot of people. In today's day and age, people really only care about offense. They only care about scoring, and that's how they value a player. And I think in Ben's case, you really can't value him in that sense. Ben is a massive defensive player. That is where his skill set is, and that's where people need to cherish him. And I think that if he doesn't come back to the 76ers, that a lot of the fans at Philadelphia who are hating on Ben right now are really going to miss him when they realize just how much he does for that team. People always say the best offense is a good defense, but I don't know why people can't use that quote in today's day and age. These are all things that a calm person can have a discussion about. But in that circumstance, Doc Rivers was not calm. He was upset. He just lost the series and he was devastated. So he lashed out and said something that he didn't mean. And that's what I truly believe. I truly believe that he didn't mean what he said. He was just angry and he was lashing out. But unfortunately for Doc Rivers, you're the head coach and you have to live by your words. And you know, you made your bed, now you got to lay in it. That's a saying that I'm going to go for with this. So there's rumours going around that Doc Rivers is trying to mend his relationship with Ben. Rumour is that he offered to have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid have their own time at running the offense. So Joel Embiid would have his chance at running the team, and then Ben Simmons would have his time. So they split their minutes up in that sense. I think that's too little, too late, and that the relationship between Doc Rivers and Ben Simmons will never be fixed. I think that Ben is prideful and Doc is prideful. I think that maybe Doc should have just admitted what he said was wrong, and he said it out of emotion, not out of common sense, and maybe Ben Simmons could have seen that. But now it just looks like two people fighting against each other, and when you're having an argument, disagreeing with the person or trying to backtrack doesn't make the other person feel better. You know, if you admit your mistakes and you admit that you're in the wrong, the other person is going to be more palatable with that conversation. Now, Joel Embiid's comments about the series turning once we had an open dunk and it turned into foul shots, I don't think that is as big a part to play as the Doc Rivers part. I think that obviously Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid don't get along. They clearly have some type of chemistry problem. I'm not sure what it is, if it's a personal issue or if it's a professional issue. I feel like it could be Ben Simmons feels like it was meant to be his team, and then Joel Embiid obviously developed into what he is now, and that changed. So Ben Simmons might be a bit hurt over that. So I could see that happening. But Joel Embiid's mistakes came later. It came by him commenting on Ben Simmons' videos of his workouts and saying we want a bit of that in the season. And all the stuff he said is nice, but it's just the way he says it. It's the way he talks about Ben. I could see that it's kind of like, I'm saying the right thing, but there's an underline of sarcasm and there's an underline of disrespect towards Ben. And I feel like that is also going to be a major part of having your two stars not wanting to mesh together. And I could see why Ben wouldn't want to come back to that situation. Why would you want to play with someone who you feel like is not your teammate? He doesn't feel like he's standing up for Ben. You know, he condemned Ben again like Doc Rivers did, and that's not something that teammates do, and that's not something that instills camaraderie in a basketball team. So the big question is, will Ben Simmons return to the Philadelphia 76ers? I say there's a high chance that he probably will. He'll probably will play just to avoid the fines, because he's owed a lot of money this season, and he's not going to sit out for 30 plus million for pride. I don't know any people in the world that would turn down $30 million for pride, especially not a 25, 26-year-old young man like Ben is. Now, the question that you need to be asking yourself, and one of the questions that I've been asking myself, is do you really want Ben Simmons back on that team? Just like my example before, if you've already been burnt and you're not putting in 100%, you don't want him there. And he doesn't want to be there, and it's just not going to be a good situation. You're not going to get a Ben Simmons who is dedicated to the 76ers. He's going to be dedicated to himself. If he does come back, I believe it's going to be so that he can put in as many points, as many defensive stops, blocks, steals as he can to push his trade value up to finally go out. I could foresee him coming back at the start of the season, and when the trade deadline's approaching, him kicking up another fuss if they haven't traded him already. Now, we saw what happened with the James Harden example last year, and James Harden tried to play ball and tried to say, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and he wasn't getting traded, so he had to put his foot down. Now, Ben Simmons is not on the level of trade value as James Harden, but I still think that he is a massive asset for a lot of other teams. Obviously, the two people that I think the 76ers want would be Damian Lillard, but he's not going to leave Portland. I don't know for a fact, obviously, but I have a feeling that he's not going to leave Portland. That's his team. I feel like he loves his team, and that If he does get traded, it'll be next off season. He won't give up during the middle of the season. I don't feel like that's in his character, and I don't feel like that's something that will happen. Now, on the other hand, Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has got a new team, pretty much. A lot of kids, obviously from the Lakers trade. And if there's anyone that I reckon would end up being on the 76ers for Ben, I think it would be Bradley Beal. So that's something to look out for. So I've been giving this a lot of thought. And how is this feud going to come to an end? If you look at it from the Philadelphia 76ers point of view, right now they're an NBA contender with Ben Simmons on the court. But Ben Simmons doesn't want to play for them. He's made this public, so therefore his trade value is low. So therefore the 76ers can't trade him for another player that's going to keep them in contention for a championship. Even if there was another player available right now, which there isn't. There is not a championship level player available right now that Philadelphia can trade for. Like I said previously, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal aren't moving anywhere right now. So what I think Philadelphia needs to realize is that right now, they're not going to be able to trade Ben Simmons for an NBA championship level player. I think that if they don't trade him as soon as possible and Ben actually plays hardball and says, okay, I'm not playing, you can take my money away from me, you can fine me, you can suspend me, I don't care, I'm not playing, his trade value is going to get lower and lower and lower to the point where if Beal becomes available, I don't think the Wizards want to trade for Ben Simmons. If they do want him, they're gonna have to trade Ben Simmons and some draft picks for Bradley Beal. And I feel like that is not a situation that Philadelphia wants, and that they've really got to realize that yes, they can play hardball because they have every right not to pay him and every right to not trade him. But if they don't trade him and Ben plays the exact same level of hardball back, his value is going to get a lot worse than what it is right now, and it's already low. So I can't wait to see what happens.